I need a job with a steady paycheck.
I need a job that offers health care on day one for me and my kids.
I want a job where I can get certified in technical roles, like robotics or software engineering.
In communities across the country, hourly Amazon employees earn an average of over $23 an hour, with opportunities to grow their skills and their paycheck by enrolling in free skills training programs and apprenticeships. Learn more at aboutamazon.com.
And now it's time for No Pucks Given with Dan Kingerski of Pittsburgh Hockey Now. Penguin Scoop's locker room buzz and straight-up analysis. No fluff, all hockey. Now, here's Dan.
Alrighty, we are live here in the hallowed halls of Pittsburgh Hockey Now's home studio. Hi, I'm Dan Kingerski. It's the Penguins live chat. My apologies. I've just been running late all day for pretty much everything, and got the new setup going with the new microphone. But then as I hooked everything up, I realized that every time I talk, that thing would flash. And so I spent 5 minutes rehooking, like trying to change everything and get it all reconfigured and do all of that stuff. And then I realized that the lighting in here was pretty much absolutely terrible. It's just dark and gloomy outside, so I needed to hook up lighting, and you get the point. We're going to talk some Penguins hockey, and we're going to do that with you. So here's how the live chats work. In case you're a newbie, we're getting literally hundreds of subscribers per month. So it's basically an Ask Me Anything sort of deal. The topics we're going to hit. I didn't expect, when I scheduled this yesterday, I didn't expect to have to talk about holding a lead against an empty net, literally for a third straight game. However, the Tampa Bay game 3 games ago doesn't count on the score sheet. But I think for the purpose of our discussion, it certainly does. And I'm going to get into some micro things. I think I see some flaws with the Penguins that might need to change. Maybe it's, and I'm still, I haven't hit publish on the article yet, whether it's personnel or whether it is structural. I'm still kind of debating, and I've written the article, and I have to just finalize it. I should have hit publish before I did this live chat. Once again, the live chats are always just like the worst. Like I just need to do something else all the time. But we set aside the hour every week to keep the conversation going. So what we're going to talk about? Let's see here. Yeah, leads. We're going to talk about the fans last night, because at puck drop last night, there might have been like 9,000, maybe if we count a couple of heads twice, 10,000 fans in the building. That's brutal for a team in a playoff spot. Absolutely brutal. Unfortunately, the moment I start talking about attendance, I have to go through a roll call of every fan who wasn't there last night. Well, I need to pay a babysitter and I can't afford parking and I don't want to go down there on a Tuesday and get home at 11 o'clock. I don't like to do this. And I don't need a roll call of every individual fan who wasn't there. There are hundreds of thousands of you, and you got 9,000 in the building last night. So we're going to talk about that. I'm not going to I'm kind of tired of the, well, Kingerski doesn't understand. I have to work. And listen, I'm up at 6 a.m. too. So we're going to talk about that. We're also going to talk about some real trade talk. And that's going to sort of dovetail with the focus of what the Penguins should be over the next 53 games or so. Because we're getting to that point. There's always sort of 3 stages to the NHL season. There's Halloween, which, okay, time to really bear down. There's Thanksgiving, which everyone, it really has taken on a bigger significance from everybody else. And, if you're in a playoff spot on Thanksgiving, you got like a 75, 77% chance of making the postseason at the end. And then you've got the Christmas break. After Christmas, after Hanukkah, it's all hands on deck, full go, right? Should I change the lighting? No, I don't like that red either. Too bright. Maybe a little better. I don't know. Maybe I should just turn it off and sit in darkness. My old friend. So we're getting to the point in the NHL season that it really is go time for the Penguins, for all teams. So we're going to talk about, not just the trade, but the focus, plus, of course, your comments. So here we go. In fact, before we do all of that, for producer Scott, I'm going to take a quick break for the podcast side. The video will continue, but on the Odyssey Podcast Network, we're going to take this quick break and come right back with everything that I talked about here on No Pucks Given. Alrighty, we are back on No Pucks Given. Those of you on the video side are like, what's going on? But I appreciate those of you on the podcast side staying with us. So topic 1, holding leads. And I'm still working with the new software. I like it much better. But I haven't yet necessarily figured out how to upload everything I want to upload and show you everything I want to show you. So I'm just going to sort of do a screen share. Last night, the Dallas Stars, of course, scored with 0.1 seconds. Or not that. The Anaheim Ducks scored with 0.1 seconds. That was a cluster unto itself. Between Chris Letang getting walked, between Erik Karlsson lunging off of, diving off of his feet instead of just making a simple stick check, and then slapping the puck into his own net. That was a special set of circumstances, none of which should have happened. But the Dallas game on Sunday, I thought that was far more indicative of the Penguins' structure and maybe a little bit of structural, what's the opposite of integrity? So here we go. Here's right before Heiskanen lets it rip. Now, you see Noel Acciari has the point covered. Blake Lizotte is a little bit in no man's land there in the middle. But nevertheless, he's ready to fall back to take any rebounds. He's kind of protecting the slot. You're okay with a point shot, really. And Connor Dewar has Mikko Rantanen there in the right circle. Now, Dumba is sort of not quite at the net. If you saw the video, he's actually facing the wall and number 24 there. Is that Wyatt Johnston? Jamie Benn is in the crease. 2 players, in fact, are in the crease. And so is Ryan Graves. And Heiskanen lets it go. 3 players screening. Now, this is where I question structural or I question personnel. And I'm going to stop sharing the screen here as soon as I figure out exactly, there we go, how to do that. Ryan Graves has to do a better job in that moment of getting Tristan Jarry's eyes clear. If you watch the video, Graves even tried to block the shot at the last second, sort of, but still fronted the shot without getting a piece of it. There was no way Tristan Jarry could have seen through Ryan Graves. He kind of just had to be in position and hope the shot hit him. So Graves needed to do a better job of pushing one or the other away from Tristan Jarry. The other structural thing is, how are the Penguins outnumbered in the dirty area? At that point, Matt Dumba has to help out near the cage because there are three guys there. You can allow the guy in the circle if you're taking care of the net front in that moment anyway. And then you have to, you kind of have to scamper back and forth a little bit. I think it's both structural and personnel on that one. But if you go back through Tampa Bay, once again, you have to understand the Penguins' system is man-to-man down low. If you go back to Tampa Bay, again, several people really weren't covering their man. And they left the middle of the ice. You could have driven a Mack truck through the passing lane, which eventually led to Nikita Kucherov. You can't leave a passing lane to Nikita Kucherov. You're going to get burned on that 3, 4 of 10 times. And Kucherov made a wicked shot that actually hit the post at such an odd angle. It almost looked like it hit the outside of the post and doubled in. What are you going to do sometimes? That didn't count. So I know fans were kind of hopping mad last night at Dan Muse for having Chris Letang and Erik Karlsson on the ice at the same time. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and probably tepidly agree with the fans on that one. I certainly, that would not be my choice for the final 17 seconds, power play or no. Now, I'm going to give you the other side of the story here so that you can sort of make your own informed opinion rather than a knee-jerk. What Muse said regarding Tuesday against Anaheim and why Letang and Karlsson were there was quite simply that if they have puck possession, the goalie can't come out of the net, the game is over. He knew that Anaheim was going to basically bum rush the defenseman after the faceoff, and he wanted a couple of guys with good sticks, good offensive instincts, puck moving skills to be able to handle that. Probably his two best skating defensemen as well. It's like, okay, on paper, it makes complete sense. You don't expect Chris Letang to chase a shadow at the blue or just inside the blue line. And you don't expect Erik Karlsson to knock the puck into his own net with his hand. You don't expect those sorts of things. But that's exactly what happened. Now, one of our readers, Josh, tweeted at me this morning that, in fact, this has happened before. Game 2 of the season, Karlsson and Letang gave up a high danger chance in the final 2 or 3 seconds of the game, which I believe it was Jari that made the save, and the Penguins survived. No, I don't think Muse will go back to this well again. Whether you have Karlsson and Wotherspoon, Shea and Letang, either way, I don't see Karlsson, Letang being out there again. Muse is not a stubborn guy, I don't think. I don't see that in him, wherein he's going to just keep pounding square pegs and round holes. All right, so that's kind of the leads thing that I'm working on. Personnel does have to do a better job, first and foremost. But I'm wondering if there is something structural where the Penguins playing man-to-man down low and zone up high is bad news for them in that situation where there's an extra attacker. Because if you're playing man-to-man down low, that means somebody is kind of wide open. In Dallas's case, the wide open guy was in the crease. Maybe Tristan Jarry should have cross-checked him and claimed goalie interference. I don't know. So that's what I'm working on this afternoon for Pittsburgh Hockey Now. Do me a favor. Always go check out PHN. Let me take a couple of questions here.
In communities across the country, hourly Amazon employees earn an average of over $23 an hour, with opportunities to grow their career and their paycheck. Learn more at aboutamazon.com.
There we go. Big Joe. Hey, Dan, with as good... should I just turn this stupid light off? Yeah, it's probably better that way anyway. Let's see here. With as good of a job as Muse has done, he has sent out some questionable line combos and D combos at the end of the games. Does that concern you at all? I see the microphone reflecting off of my neck. Okay, let me turn it a little bit there. Okay. Also, I'd rather see Boko or Sam Poulin over Danton Heinen. Well, boy, you tossed a few grenades at me there. I have no issue with the line combinations. I mean, the fourth line got victimized in Dallas. That's the line you want out there. So from that standpoint, no, absolutely not. No concerns over the forwards utilization there. The D pair, listen, I know you're talking about Carlson Letang, but maybe I answered a bit of that. I don't think he would do that. I mean, listen, maybe he got too smart. Maybe he outsmarted himself a little bit on Tuesday. The thing about Muse is he'll watch that video. He'll watch it 1,000 times, actually. He'll wear out the keyboard buttons backwards, forwards, backward, watching that goal. So, no, I mean, look, we're 28 games into a guy's tenure. No concerns about that whatsoever. The funny thing is, Joe, the underpinning of your question, going to Dan Muse, is that he is unencumbered by the past. He doesn't have all of Chris Letang's baggage or Erik Karlsson's baggage. He's fresh. He's allowing them to be fresh. And to that point, he's making decisions that make sense. If he were maybe encumbered by the baggage, I suppose he wouldn't have made that decision last night. I can't see the former coach making that call, but the former coach was encumbered by the past. So take your pick. Human beings are imperfect, I suppose. Let's go to Zachary. Is it a coincidence that they were closing games out well in October before the injuries? Now they're blowing them again like last year. I know players came back, but it seems like that Toronto game shifted. I'm not sure. Zach, I think you're picking up apples and oranges and trying to make a fruit salad there that I'm just not following. Listen, don't forget, they were also having trouble closing out games in October too. They were giving up late goals in October. Every team in the NHL actually is. The number of teams that have given up 3 or more goals against the empty net, I think it's 10 or 12. The Penguins are 10th. They've given up 3. They're tied for third place, and they are 10th. Yeah, there are 12 or so teams that have given up 3 or more against the empty net. So from that standpoint, the Penguins are not dramatically different than everybody else. I just think it really is under scrutiny because they're losing in extra time so terribly, 1-7. and it has happened in a spate, so it is really worth examining. But coincidence? Are you telling me that Justin Brazeau and Ricard Raquel are in some way tied to this empty net thing going on? I'm going to go ahead and say no. Let's see. Let's go to Log Anexor. I don't know. Log. All of these missed points are going to start adding up and cost us late in the season if we don't fix the issues quickly. Log, I didn't realize you were playing. What number are you? The we. You fooled me there. Well, yeah, they know that too. There's no question. Look, they've gone to overtime 8 times. They've won once. Let's just say they won 4 of the 8 games. What would 6 points mean? First place in the Metro Division. That's what it would mean. So yeah, believe me, they are well aware. All right, now at the 20-minute mark, we're going to shift gears a little bit here, and I'm going to get into, I think that's a good springboard to get into the second topic we're going to talk about on the live chat here, and that is, what is the real focus of the team for the next 53 games? Is it the playoffs? And I'm going to tell you straight up, for the coach down to the 13th forward, absolutely. That is the goal. Win every night, make the playoffs. They're not thinking about rebuilding or getting young players in the lineup. They're thinking about playing their best game and winning. What is Kyle Dubas thinking? However, I think that is where there's going to be, for the second or maybe even the third straight season, a little bit of a schism here between the Penguins and Dubas. Yes, the Edmonton Oilers called about Tristan Jarry, and there was some interest, but the reality is Edmonton has not enough salary cap space to buy a free lunch, and no, the Penguins are not going to help them out by eating part of Tristan Jarry's salary, unless the return more than made up for it. They just don't want to do it. They don't have any reason to do it. Unless you're one of those Tristan Jarry haters who just like, trade him now before he stinks. I don't really have time to fight that stuff. We're just moving past it as fast as we possibly can. The Penguins have a pretty good goalie, and they're going to hang on to him unless some team pries him out of their hands, full stop. However, as I say that, the Montreal Canadiens just might be that team that could. They've got salary cap space. They've got younger players. And they've got 2 goalies right now who couldn't catch a cold. What do? They called up a 21-year-old, their next goalie prospect, and they're hoping Jacob Fowler can right the ship. That's an awful lot to ask of a rookie, unless we're going 1985 on the Canadiens. That was Patrick Waugh's rookie year, by the way. He won the Stanley Cup. I digress. What I think I see evolving with Kyle Dubas is very much this. He is building for the future and allowing the team to play for the present. And there's just going to be an unbridged chasm between those two objectives. And he's allowing the team to do so. And they're going to deal with whatever he does at the top. The one trade I do see being very possible, becoming more possible, and that is Ricard Raquel. Without Raquel in the lineup, the Penguins really haven't missed a beat. Not offensively, not defensively. Tommy Novak has played the last 2 games really well. I don't know if it's sustainable. We're going to find out if that's sustainable. We're going to have time to find that out because Raquel is probably a couple of weeks away. He was kind of full contact, full go at the morning skate on Tuesday. But as Dan Muse noted, there's not a lot of contact in a pregame skate. when he's full go, full contact, full drills in practice, then the clock starts to his return. But as of last Thursday, or maybe it was Wednesday night, Kyle Dubas, in fact, said that Raquel was 3 or maybe 4 weeks away from returning. Of course, he also said Justin Brazeau and Nola Chari were 7 to 10 days away from returning, and they returned in 3 days. Go figure. But I think it's maybe important as you look at the Penguins' current position in a playoff spot, several games in hand on the teams chasing them. Even though these loser points really stink and they leave a sour taste like sucking on a giant lemon, still a point. And they're just staying at, like, that's a 500 night when you get that 1 point. They do have to win some games. There's just no question about that. In terms of actual wins, the Penguins are 15th in the league. They're in the middle of the pack in terms of actually winning those games. Their focus is ahead of them, while Dubas's focus is way ahead. I do see Montreal being one of those teams. You want to talk trades, you want to talk what teams make sense. I don't think Edmonton really does. Edmonton would not part with the young players the Penguins would want in order to get Tristan Jarry back to Alberta. Edmonton would be crazy to deal the prospects that Kyle Dubas is going to ask for. We're talking, the Isaac Howard, the Savoys, so on and so forth. And Savoy is also a bit of a polarizing prospect to begin with. There are a lot of scouts who don't think he's an NHL player, not going to be. The Penguins had a chance to get Isaac Howard and didn't beat Edmonton's offer to Tampa Bay. So you tell me what that might shake out like. Montreal, on the other hand, has a plethora of prospects and young players. That would be like sending Kyle Dubas to the candy store with $5 in his pocket. If he were a kid, you know what I mean. All right, so that was, I think, the one topic I really wanted to lay down first before I got to a few more questions. Let's get to him. If they start to fizzle out, I hope they commit to it. You don't need to win the lottery to get a very good player. McKenna is good, but so are Verhoff, Stenberg, Lawrence, so on and so forth. Yeah, but let me ask you a question. Let me ask you guys a question. Because just because they have lost a couple of shootouts in a row, does that mean they're fizzling out? I know it's an L in the column, or actually, it's actually an OTL that pays out. Do you think they're fizzling out? They put 48 shots on Anaheim Tuesday, 40 in regulation. Now, Erik Karlsson said it more directly. Dan Muse sort of tiptoed around it a little bit. I wonder if I can play you Erik Karlsson's audio. Let me see here. Let's see. I'm going to see if I can pull this off. So bear with me. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. We're just going to try something here. I have a transcription, because obviously, it helps me write faster, and I get, a 1,500 word report card out the door in 75 minutes, which, I have to start that from scratch after the game because it seems like the Penguins are always changing things. The narrative and the storylines change by the final horn. So let's see if I can get Erik Karlsson's audio to you. When I asked him, okay, you guys had a lot of chances. What did you have to do more of to get a few more pucks across the line? And And here's Eric Carlson. Oh, let me turn up the volume. Here, let's try this out.
Yeah, good question. I try. I think we do a good job in controlling the puck, and tiring now, it's hard to defend when you're tired. We all know that, and maybe get a little bit more traffic in front of the net, and get a few more dirty goals instead of shots from the perimeter with no one in front. You need a perfect shot for it to go in. Maybe create a little bit more chaos by the time that the opponent gets tired, and we're controlling play, and it's looking good sometimes, but it doesn't really generate.
All right. So how did that work? Did that? Could you hear that? Well, what he's basically saying is we're being too pretty on the perimeter. Dan Muse has what the wording Muse has used is not doing enough with our chances. When we have possession and ozone time, sometimes we're not doing enough. I thought the Penguins, especially the third line last night, especially the third line, was really getting the puck to the net, in the crease, creating chaos and havoc. Would you like to know a crazy stat? I just pulled this up off of Natural Stat Trick, writing the article before we went live on the show. Do you know the Penguins line all season combined, all the minutes they've played, the Penguins line combination that has created the most rebound chances? Rutger McGroarty, Ben Kindle, and Ville Koivunen. In 35 minutes, the kids' line has created 13 rebounds. The next best line is Mantha, Malkin, Brazeau. In 127 minutes, they've created 11 rebound chances. The third best line? You're gonna be shocked by this. The third best Penguins line to create rebounds. Sidney Crosby's lines? Nope, not even close. The fourth line? Nope, not even close. The third best in 38 minutes was Ben Kindle centering Tommy Novak and Philip Hollander. Hollander. Can you believe that? 38 minutes, that line created 9 rebounds. So I suppose Ben Kindle is the most prolific in terms of getting to the net, getting the puck to the net, and a few more with some luck, with some finishing on the wingers. Kindle might have a boatload of points. I'll tell you what, last night, McGroarty was just hammering that puck, trying to pound it through Husso. He must have had 3-4 whacks at a couple of those. Pound. Could not get it through.
To remind you that 60% of sales on Amazon come from independent sellers, here's John from Devil Dog Pet Company.
We run our family business from Sterling Heights, Michigan, but we can reach customers all over the country thanks to Amazon. Good boy.
Shop small business on Amazon.